What is going on, Clippers fans? Welcome to Season 3, Episode 24 of Clips and Dip. I am Chuck Mockler, joined by Adam Osland. William Updike is unavoidably detained. He has family in town. I'm away to see family. It's a very busy week here at Clips and Dip, but we're making things happen. If you're new to the show, thank you for watching us. We're on youtube.com/@ClippersPodcast. You can find us anywhere you listen to podcasts. Today, Adam and I are going to discuss the back-to-back that occurred this week that the Clippers participated for the most part in. And then we're going to talk about what might happen against the Thunder on Saturday. Before we get into that, Adam, how are you doing?
Perfectly calm, dude. Calmer than you are.
You might be calmer than I am. I don't know if you caught me on the Henny Ween live stream yesterday, but
I caught it on the drive home a little bit.
Post-game was a little rough last night. That was for those that missed it, the Clippers lost to the Blazers, and then they lost to the Suns in two very different but equally frustrating fashions.
With some similarities, too.
Inbounds
turnovers.
I mean, that's a great point to start with because, like, what are the things that this team talked about in the offseason that they wanted to work on? It's like taking care of the ball, limiting offense, limiting extra possessions for the other team. And they seem to do that in the first half of things. Things seem to start well.
I mean, that's the best half of basketball they played so far this season.
One against Phoenix.
Yeah, that first half was great. I mean, Kevin Porter Jr. was great in that first half. He was 4-4 and had 10 points in 5 minutes. Like, they were cooking. And I know we'll get into it, but, a lot has been said of, hey, and I heard you bring it up too, and it's a valid point. Ivica Zubac only gets 10 shots last night, and he's 9 for 10. How does he not get more? Well, I mean, they were up by 18, and he only had 5 shots in the first half.
Very true.
It was working. Everything they were doing was working. And then just an extraordinary fluky shooting variance took place in the third quarter against them, of course, with Phoenix going 15 for 15. But turnovers down the stretch again, a bad inbounds pass. Although I rewatched it again.
Well, why? You don't have to do that.
Well, I got to know what happened. And Grayson Allen played remarkably good defense on that. Like, he was able to watch Nico Batum the entire time while staying with Norman Powell, which is not easy. That was incredible free safety work by him.
Yeah, if you missed that Phoenix game, what's funny is you talk like, they made the 15 shots in a row in the third quarter, which incredibly fluky. I think it's totally fair for Clippers fans to acknowledge the absurdity of that. You look at the shooting percentages at the end of the game. Phoenix shot 51% as a team. The Clippers shot 48%. Clippers had 11 more field goal attempts. They made 6 fewer threes. They had twice as many offensive rebounds. This was like, I said this on the live stream, but the Clippers can just kind of get leaned on, and that's what we saw the Suns do. So a 70-point first half is something that, like, not insurmountable. I don't mean that at all. But the Clippers can just kind of, like, we saw the fatigue down the stretch from James Harden with some of those turnovers and stuff like that. It just,
again,
it was kind of, which we can get into that too.
I don't know. Everybody in the comment section was like, don't you guys understand? He's got to get his season legs underneath him. What are you talking about, you casuals?
So
he's 35.
My thing with the turnovers, and I brought this up, and I will continue to bring this up. Law Murray, this stat is very important to me as each game goes by about James Harden. Last year, the most turnovers he had in a game was 5. We're already at every single game being higher than that. So last year, I think, was more of an anomaly than what we're seeing this year.
Well, I think it's also a role, though. You have Kawhi, you have Paul George out there last year. Russell Westbrook's coming off the bench.
Good point.
The usage rating is completely different. I think he still has, after last night, the 3rd highest usage, only behind SGA and Luka. I don't think they're 35 years of age. I think they're 26 and 25. too much is being asked of James Harden, which is something we were afraid of coming into this season. And who's going to be the other shot creator / playmaker guy out there for them and can make the trains run on time, as Dr. Shapp likes to say, with this offense? Who else can do it? It's not happening right now. It's all on James. And so therefore he's fallen flat late in ball games as his legs are no longer underneath him anymore.
I'm looking at his usage rates. Currently, through 5 games, he's at 33.6% usage, which is his 5th highest ever. His usage rate with the Clippers last year, 20%, his 3rd lowest ever.
Yeah.
So we're really seeing some min-maxing. We're in the max section of Harden's usage. And like you said, and everyone who's watched it, even 2 of the 5 games, we're seeing it be an issue down the stretch. And what can be done to help this? And I mean that Norm's gotten off to a hot start, but that's not, the scoring is great and we need the scoring. And again, Norm took yet again a brutal knock, which seems to be his MO for this Clippers team. He shed more blood on a basketball court in the last 2 seasons than anyone in the NBA. And I think that is a fact.
Poor guy was out there like Carrie on Halloween.
Dude, it was crazy. But he can score, but we don't have anyone. We're throwing inbounds, out of bounds. We don't have anyone to initiate the offense. And I'm laughing because it's partly Gallows humor, because like, who is going to help make this easier?
And this is why when there isn't an answer like this and people are just like, Wah! Just frustrated, but there's no clear answer. I get it on one hand, but you got to understand there is some rationale going on with trying to chase Kevin Porter Jr. and hope that it comes around, because they just don't have any options. Now, would I try Bones? Would I try Jordan Miller at this point? Yeah, because I think you got to win games early in the season and have a sense of urgency. And I'm not saying they don't.
Totally.
I see it's not an easy decision, because if you do go to Bones and then he's up and down, which he totally could be.
He probably will be.
What's next? Now we go to Jordan Miller, and he's never played real NBA minutes before. What if he is up and down, or just a lot of down? And then you have to go back to the guys that you were benching for them. That's really awkward. And that creates a very difficult situation in the locker room where you can lose it. So to Coach Lou's credit, this is why he let things fail to make it obvious to everyone, including the guys, that he has to tell, hey, I'm pulling you. This is why we have this amount of evidence. And so it lessens the blow a little bit. So I totally get what they're doing right now. I also think if they get blitzed early against OKC tomorrow, I think there's a good chance we will see Bones or Jordan Miller.
I was going to say, yeah, we're going to talk about the looming OKC game, but OKC, we can intertwine it. OKC has an incredibly good defense to start this season. In the loss to the Blazers, which pains me to say, last 2 minutes of that game, of a game the Clippers lost by 1 point, right? They didn't make a bucket.
No, they had 2 made baskets, I think, the last 5.5 minutes. And 3 turnovers. 4 turnovers in the fourth quarter of that one, 6 in the fourth quarter last night, and the missed free throws.
It's all clearly, it's not clearly, I don't mean to say it like that, like it's a simple problem. These are fatigue problems, right? Like all of these things together are a clear fatigue issue.
Symptom of the disease of fatigue going on with this team by having someone who is 35 have a usage rating of 33% out there. It's too much. You're asking too much. But then again, where else do you go? Because I'm pretty sure when people were screaming last night, trade James Harden, and saying all these crazy things, it's like, guys, I don't know if they'd score 80 points in a game if they didn't have James Harden, honestly.
Right. Yeah. So let's imagine this team, and we're not saying, that this would be let's imagine trading James for like some picks and some filler. What does this Clippers team look like after that? I guess like before we kind of get into the OKC stuff, did back-to-back, level setting wise, did it really change your perception of like kind of long-term what you think this Clippers team could do this regular season?
No, because on the last show they were coming off winning 2 straight in a back-to-back scenario on the road against good teams. And like the first thing I brought up on the show was I am worried about James Harden and him running out of gas. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I expected this to happen. It is something we've talked about all offseason. How do you have enough shot creation with this team? How do you figure it out and not make it all the James Harden show? Because that has a recipe for disaster late in games. And I just don't know. Look, they had a great first half. Things were clicking. There's some progress there with getting other guys involved and not just having it be high pick and roll with James Harden and Ivica Zubac, because Zoo only got up 5 shots in the first half and they still led by 18. They made a concerted effort then early in the third quarter to feature Zubac. I want to say he took like 3 out of the first 4 shots and had the and one on the dunk to start the third quarter. That was great.
Yeah.
That was great game plan right there. It was like, okay, we haven't got him. Yeah. We haven't gotten him involved enough. We're going back to Big Zoo. Now he only got 1 shot in the fourth quarter, which I hated seeing. But I think part of that was because if you slow down Harden and he's fatigued, you slow down the Clippers. And
that's the big defender thing. We saw Portland do it. They put a bigger guy on Harden, so he just has to work harder. And if you do that from the jump,
yeah, it's you can cut off the head of the snake is very apparent to every team that the Clippers are going up against. Everybody comes in knowing how they can stop them. Now, the Clippers got going early on anyways against Phoenix, even when they had Ryan Dunn, who looks incredible to start off this season, who hit 4 3-pointers and hit 7 his last season in college and hit 4 against the Clippers in 1 game and missed 2 wide open ones late. Still, that could have been knocked down. But his defense on James Harden, I thought, was really good early on. That really could be the difference for the Phoenix Suns this season. That and Tyus Jones and a new coaching staff. But like their ceiling looks a lot higher than I think most people thought heading into this year. Anyways, back to the Clippers in that third quarter. You can't control. I went back and watched every clip, every shot during the 15 made. And I would say 7 or 8 of them were somewhere between decently contested to really well contested by the Clippers. And it didn't matter.
It wasn't a lot. It wasn't like a lot of, because I know there were some people upset in the live stream afterwards about how many guys were left open late with the doubling that the Clippers were doing. But in the third quarter, you're right. They played like it wasn't wide open shots the Suns were getting. Credit to the Suns for making the shots. We're not saying anything like that, but like this was not a sloppy defensive quarter that the Clippers got this done to them.
And credit Coach Lue for calling a timeout when they were still up 17. They dropped 1 point. They're up 18 at the half, and Coach Lue saw a minute and a half in, Phoenix is starting to go. I got to cut off their momentum right now. We got to regroup. And they had only cut into it by 1.
Yeah.
I love seeing that sense of urgency. He called another one after Phoenix kept it going. Like, they tried everything. I'm not saying their defense was perfect, but 7 or 8 of those shots were pretty damn well defended. Yusuf Nurkic came into this one of 9 from 3. He gets a wide open one because you got to make a decision there. You live with that, and he knocks it down. Like, man, it was just terrible, miserable luck in the third quarter.
And you look at another thing in the third that I think really frustrated Ty, because he mentioned it, was the boards. Clippers got beat by 8 on the boards in the third quarter, that would anger any coach.
Yeah. The hustle plays definitely started to go the other way in the second half. And Phoenix, I think, and I said this last night, what is happening partially with the Clippers losing these games late, where everyone's saying that, hey, from the Clippers fans' perspective, they could be 5-0 right now. They also could very easily be 0-5.
Right. It goes that close games go the other way too, y'all. Coin flip. It's either side.
Coach Lue brought that up. But my point is, what happens late in games is you see more of the separation in talent, because while the Clippers can outwork teams and play with better effort through the first couple of quarters, 3 quarters, when a team gets desperate that is more talented than you and has that sense of urgency like the Phoenix Suns, all of a sudden they're giving maximum effort now. So none of your shots are as easy. And they were absolutely operating with pristine precision around the perimeter with some of the passes they were making in the fourth quarter. Everybody's talking about, as you mentioned, those wide open looks. It's like that was created through perfect passes. If it was the other way around, if it was the other way around and the Clippers were the ones always finding the open man when the opposition is scrambling, everyone would say, look at this ball moving from the Clippers. Look at this hot potato. This is great. Yeah. Well, the Suns were just executing it. Yeah. The Suns were executing perfectly. I get there's frustration, but some of that is tip your cap. That was some unbelievable basketball by Phoenix.
I like that point too. It's not like the Clippers were sloppy for the most part, like it's not like, I mean, they were in some aspects, but the whole game itself, like, it's a 6-point loss to the Suns, which probably looks a lot better than some other teams, better roster constructed, you know what I mean? Teams who are going to lose to the Suns this year. Just sucks to see it happen back to back because they should have won the Portland game. The Phoenix game, I'm pissed we lost, whatever. The Portland game was one that we punted directly to them. The Phoenix game, that's a coin toss anyway, which I feel good about. It's nice that it's a coin toss with this Clippers team. That Portland game, that is the one to be, for me, that I'm more upset about because of that last 2 minutes, no scoring, turnovers, a team that they, no disrespect to any Portland fans watching, that the Clippers should beat even with this roster.
Yeah, that's kind of what compounds things. You win the game against Portland, and if you had lost last night, you're still feeling okay about yourselves. Yeah. And the way they lost the game against Portland with missing 8 free throws, I think it was, and 5 of them in the fourth quarter, and James Harden missing multiple times down. He goes 1 for 2, and then Big Zoo goes 0 for 2, which just can't happen. No. He tried to make up for it with a great defensive play. He had the block on Simons and the recovery, the Bill Russell play. You get the block and the rebound, but too little, too late. And then I don't even know. I've watched that inbounds pass a ton, and there's a frame where it's like, how is this not getting to Zoo? Like, how is Aiton going to get to this?
Are you going frame by frame on these?
Oh, Zapruder all the way.
Bro, Adam Zapruder over here. All right, so from the frustrating back-to-back losses that the Clippers go through on a back-to-back, they now get to play the Oklahoma City Thunder on Saturday. We're going to talk about that. If you're listening, we're going to do a quick ad break. If you're watching or you would like to watch, there is no weird audio ad break. You can watch us at youtube.com/@ClippersPodcast. We just crossed 2,000 subscribers, so we appreciate that. We're going to do a quick ad break and then talk Clippers versus Thunder coming up in 3, 2, 1.
Welcome back in. It's Clips and Dip. I'm Adam Moslem with Chuck Mockler here. It's episode 24 of season 3 of the show, and the Clippers are entering game 6 of this 2024-2025 regular season, and their, what would this be? 4th game at Intuit Dome, where so far they are 0-3. This is game 3 of a 5-game homestand, and they're taking on the best team in the Western Conference that I picked to have 70 wins this season. And so far, I don't think they've lost a game. The OKC Thunder.
So I'm going to be honest. So that prediction is holding up right now. 4-0.
It is obviously as painful as it gets because you have to watch your old girlfriend who's looking better than ever in SGA just dunk on your ass.
Well, look, if there's a couple old girlfriends of mine who, if they dunked on me, I'd be like, well done. Okay, deserved. I deserve that. That's fair.
It's tough.
I'm looking at their stats, right? I haven't watched a lot of Thunder games this year. I know they're very good. You look at their stats. I'm going to pick something that jumps out to me. You pick something that jumps out to you in relation to how it could maybe harm the Clippers. Number 1 rated defense.
Ouch.
Has me worried tomorrow night for this game. How are you feeling about that?
I think
OKC. How are we breaking it?
I mean, start off trying to punish them with the Vitsa Zubats. I think you have to. I always say 3 out of the first 5 possessions, get him touches, get him going. Because one of the things I hated about the Blazers game, I thought they were even worse with not getting a Vitsa Zubats involved because things weren't working that well. I think they were up by 2 after the first quarter, and then you're down by 4 at the half. and you're not getting him involved. And I know he was on a minutes restriction or whatever because they were on a back-to-back. So he only ended up playing 31 minutes. So he's being taken out of the ball game earlier. Rotations are off.
There's that cardio.
The cardio.
I know. I'm not. That wasn't.
No, yeah.
On your side. Like,
I mean,
that's a thing.
It's a back-to-back, and you got Phoenix the next night, and they're trying to save the legs. I'm guessing they were trying to keep him and James Harden under 30 minutes, but that didn't happen because they weren't in control of the ball game whatsoever against Portland. But I couldn't understand in the first 6.5 minutes of that game against Portland, Zubac didn't get a shot up. He did not take a shot in his first stint. Like, what are we doing if our foundation is not high pick and roll with those two and looking for Big Zoo? It is not an option to get him involved anymore. It is necessary, or else you're probably going to lose. Like, I'm not saying you're going to win if you feed Ivica Zubac, but you're probably going to lose if you don't get him involved at all. He's too important to the team now. And I think it affected his defense some in that game too, where you see it with big men. The screens aren't. Yeah. If you want the dog to protect the house, you got to feed him, the old Shaq line. Yeah. So I say feed Big Zoo early and often against OKC and try to establish your identity on offense at least.
I like that. It takes some of the scoring burden if Zoo's got it going. Because, I mean, you look at this starting five for the Thunder, Zoo has the size. He has the mass, at least, to move their big guys down low.
Hartenstein's still not back, right?
No, he's not. He's out for, I think, a not insignificant amount of time.
Yeah, it's a broken hand, right?
Suffered a small non-displaced fracture. He's going to be around. He was going to be reevaluated in like 4 weeks.
Holy shit. They aren't even just the number one defense. I just checked the rating.
They're like destroying it.
They're 7 points better per 100 possessions than the team in second.
And here's who they've played. So they're going to play. They play Portland tonight. They played
That's the Clippers' best advantage. They're on a back-to-back.
Literally. They played the Spurs, who they held to 93 points, but it's the Spurs, fine. They held Atlanta to 104 points. Not exactly an offense that's not adept at scoring. They held Chicago to 95. Okay. And they held the Nuggets in the first game of the season to 87.
They're really good and balanced.
It's been you know what I mean? Like, it's been a mix of good and bad offenses that they've held to no points.
Yeah.
So the theme seems to be that the defense seems good to start the season.
And I want to say last season they were like fourth defensively. I'll check on this. Yeah, they were fourth. This, though, their team's better. They have Alex Caruso, even without Isaiah Hartenstein, and they have a bunch of young guys getting better. And even though offensively they haven't clicked in so far, it kind of makes me feel like, is this on purpose? Are they trying to set a foundation on the defensive end and take a step back offensively until they're elite there and way better than everyone on defense? And then the offense takes off, and then nobody's catching this team.
Well, this is the biggest test of the Clippers' new defensive identity so far. They didn't have to play against Bradley Beal last night, which is another thing that pisses me off. Bradley Beal was not playing. This is and with how Denver has looked, you know what I mean? This is the biggest test for this.
Yeah. The Denver win doesn't look as great right now.
We'll take it, but you're right. It doesn't look as great 2 miles down the road. But this is, you mentioned they haven't clicked yet. They're top 10 in pace, which freaks me out. They're 24th in offensive rating. They're 27th in three-point percentage. They're 17th in field goal percentage. This is a team that is, so far, on the whole, been bad offensively. And I don't mean that disrespectfully. You look at these numbers, they're not good numbers.
What'd you say SGA is at right now, shooting-wise?
42% from the field. 43 if you round up, excuse me. He's shooting 27% from three.
So they're not shooting well from three, but opponents are only shooting 27.8% against them from three, which is crazy. And meanwhile, the Clippers have been lit up from three so far, which is one of the issues going on. As good as they have been defensively, teams are shooting almost exactly 40% from three against them. They're at 39.9%. So that's a little bit scary.
Yes, I'm worried about the buzzsaw that the Clippers might run into on Saturday, especially if the Thunder lose the night that we're recording this, November 1st. So I agree on the Zoo point on the offense. Defensively, I think Chris Dunn's gonna play 30 plus minutes in this game. I think Terrence is gonna play around the same too. I think they're gonna share the floor. And I think we're gonna need to see that point of attack defense, hopefully involving those two guys at a different level than it's been this season. It's been good this season. I'm not trying to say that, but there's going to need to be a wacky combination in the backcourt that makes kind of things click for the Clippers.
Yeah, I think that's a good point because Amir Coffey only played 10 minutes last night. And for the man haters out there, Terence Man probably had his best game of the season last night, right?
The man haters. I wish Will was here to Photoshop a man haters thumbnail for this episode.
Would you agree that was Terence Mann's best game so far?
Last night?
Yeah, last night. I thought because Coach Lou gave him the extended run. He played over 30 minutes, and Amir Coffey didn't get the run in the fourth quarter. They went back to the starters. His defense on Booker is really good. Yeah. And when he got loose, a lot of that wasn't on Terence Mann.
He's a bit of a I think you're right. I think you're right.
He still can't hit a three. Like
he can't shoot at all. Yeah. He can somehow hit turnaround one-legged fadeaways on Kevin Durant, but will not take a three, which frustrates me. I love Terence Mann, but this is getting to Luke Kennard levels of passing up shots. I mean, a level we didn't know was possible.
He did pass up one last night to Nico Batum, I think, in the fourth quarter, where he bounced it right back to him. Nico was more wide open, but it's not like Terrence wasn't wide open, and Nico was in the corner, and Terrence can't hit a shot. So maybe, I mean, it is the smart basketball play at that time.
He is also thinking about everything that you just said, I think, as it's happening, which is where we're seeing the gears turn, which you don't want to see the gears turn.
No, I mean, I'll give him credit. He at least took two in each of the last two games from three.
Yes, sure.
Didn't get him up and did recover that one that turned into that jumper that he knocked out, as you mentioned, the one-legged jumper. So, look, it was his best game. He still has to be better. He has to be better offensively. He has to figure it out from three. The only way is to have a breakthrough game. It feels like with him, it takes one game.
Yeah.
And then he's fine. It is so much about his confidence and not over-processing everything.
And before we get into our Kawhi Leonard, Ivica Zubac, James Harden player of the game picks, which Will texted me his earlier, I'll say it on the air. I'm worried about the bench unit versus OKC. Kai Jones played 9 minutes yesterday. If your backup center is only really good for 9 minutes in situational things are going to get a little dicey. I'm worried about the bench.
I didn't think he was terrible. I thought actually the game against Portland, he was pretty good, Kai.
No, I agree. It's just flashes. There's nothing that can be relied on right now.
That's fair.
Which is what worries me a little bit. Not that a backup center is someone you rely on, but at least, I don't know. It's just a little too up and down for me right now to make me not worried about it if Zoo gets 2 fouls early, which might happen against Chet on some switch.
Yeah, I guess the good news is if he has to match up against Chet, he shouldn't be bullied as much, because of Chet's size, and Kai's pretty slight of frame too.
But it also I'm worried about Chet.
Not great. It's not great.
It's not great. So this is going to be a big test for the Clippers on both sides of the ball. Lord, do I hope. So give us last thing before the players of the game, one thing the Clippers are going to do to get the win, Adam. What's the one thing you're thinking?
Take care of the basketball. It's the turnovers and the type of turnovers they have had. Law Murray put up a great post on Twitter with some of the miscues the Clippers have had and just the lackadaisical turnovers that are easily correctable and fixable. And some of it may be mental fatigue from James Harden, but some of these definitely need to be cleaned up regardless. Yeah. They can be and need to be against a team like OKC. Because didn't the Clippers win the possession battle again last night? They got up more shots against Phoenix.
11 more shots.
with those 6 more 3-pointers made by the Suns. Again, the 3-point shooting has been going against the Clippers. I wonder, some of that can be wonky variance too sometimes, where you're just on the wrong side of it for a stretch of games, and it's not really indicative of how bad your defense has been. So maybe the numbers will go back in their favor there, but I think they just have to take care of the basketball, especially if it's a tight game late. It's going to come down to that. Like, those possessions are too crucial for them to be giving anything away.
Could not agree more on the turnovers. I think for me, I'm looking at the offensive boards and use second chance points. I know we won second chance points against the Suns and we crushed points in the paint, but it just blows my mind that you can double up a team in offensive boards and still, you know what I mean? Like that should be, I hope that happens. Adam, your pick for the Kawhi Leonard, James Harden, Ivica Zubac's inaugural player of the game for Clippers versus Thunder. Add into it.
Can I take 2 guys? I know this.
We need all of them. So go for it.
I'm only saying this because neither of these guys have played yet. And I think this could be the game they get run.
Oh, no.
At least one of them. Okay. So if I pick both, can I hit with one?
You're good, yeah.
Now, for this to happen, it could mean the Clippers are down significantly early on. I just could see Coach Lue saying, all right, it's time to switch up the energy. We're down 15 in the first half. We're bleeding points. We're turning the basketball over. We're making things too hard on ourselves and too easy for OKC. And he looks to his bench, and he sees the skeleton key. And he sees Bones Hyland. All the work he's been putting in. Pre-practice, post-practice.
Not being toxic to the press.
Not at all. And then there's another guy named Jordan Miller who also hasn't played yet. And I'm just thinking, one of those guys could be the guy if the Clippers are down early on in this game and things aren't going their way. I know it's only game 6, but they haven't won yet at Intuit Dome, and they had just had 2 very miserable losses there. I don't know. He might have to shake up the energy.
I respect it. I absolutely respect.
I could easily still strike out with both of them. I'm going to pick 2, and not one of them's going in.
I'm going Derek Jones Jr. He hasn't had that game for the Clippers yet. He's had some good performances. He's been okay. But he hasn't. What?
What type of game are you looking for from him?
20 points. He can do it.
I suppose he can.
If things are going well, he runs out. And I'm trying to find something. No, we can't pick James Harden or Ivica Zubac.
It's a good pick. He's going to be guarding SGA. So,
yeah.
A lot, I think.
All right, so he's not going to score 20 points.
Hasn't he had 18?
You're taking 2 guys. You're taking 2 guys. I'm taking 2 guys.
You get 2. Hey, Will ain't here. We get 2 now.
Yeah, that's true. Well, Will told me he thought PJ Tucker was going to come out Willis Reed style.
He's Derek not Jones hurt.
Well, not physically.
Bad.
Not physically. It's a new NBA, dude. I'm going Derek Jones Jr. Man, I don't know. I guess Chris Dunn. I don't just surprise him. Maybe Nico hits 3 threes.
Chris Dunn's offense has been kind of better than expected so far.
Yeah, absolutely. Right? Oh, it's going to be weird. Adam, are you going to be in the building? You're going to be in the building, right?
I will be there. I am hoping for a Clippers victory at Intuit Dome. They're first.
Let's go.
Really
I will not be there. I am in Montana. Gonna possibly doing a live stream after the game. We're gonna do a full episode with all of us on Tuesday. I'm thinking next week. Reviews help. Listen to us anywhere you listen to pods. We always appreciate it, as Will would say. You can find us on YouTube at youtube.com/@ClippersPodcast. Welcome to all the new listeners. Everyone who's been hanging out on the live streams. The Henny Ween stream is not indicative of how I usually am on live streams, but it was a fun time. Adam, before we get out of here, my favorite part of the show, we need one positive thing for these Clippers fans heading into this weekend.
I mean, they had such a bad loss against Portland, and they did come out with the right focus to start, And I'm not going to even say they just completely lost their focus.
No, yeah.
A team hit 15 straight effing shots against them. I don't think any team, there's not going to be a team, forget Phoenix not doing that again this season. There's not going to be a team in the NBA that does that this season. That stuff is so incredibly rare. Somebody told me that, the Boston Celtics in 85 made 25 straight shots. Yeah, how many of them were layups by Robert Parrish and Kevin McHale? Yeah. This was a lot of jump shots. Like, there's not a lot you can do against it. So I did like the spirit they played with for the most part. They got to put it together for 48 minutes if you're going to beat OKC. And I think they're still capable. The fatigue issue is certainly one we have cited and been concerned about. But maybe the sea legs are coming from James Harden. He has mentioned it. Season legs will kick in. I just don't know if it's going to make that much of a difference when you're 35 and have a usage rating almost that high. But positive stuff here. OKC's on a back-to-back too. So what I want to see is Portland to push them tonight, not win, to piss off OKC, but just make it close, make them have to work, make them have to play their starters late in the fourth quarter, and then OKC comes away with the victory. They get overly confident before they take on the Clippers the very next night.
I love that. We need the positivity. Thank you to everyone for watching. Thank you to everyone for listening. Keep the faith with the Clippers. They're going to be in every game for the most part because of the athleticism on defense. We will be back for y'all, maybe a double dip after the game, full episode on Tuesday. And as always, what we say.